back to Ghost Powered Entertainment. I'm your host, Kanan Becker, and today we take another deep dive into Shudder. For those of you not familiar with this channel, once a week I go searching through the popular streaming platforms and come up with 10 horror movies to recommend to you guys. This week I went searching through Shudder and came up with 10 horror movies that I think you will enjoy. And with that, let's get to the list.
What the hell is happening?
Don't know what's inside that shed.
Get in.
What's inside that shed?
So The Shed is a movie I've heard about for a while now, but I just recently got it on my monthly horror pack subscription, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna check this out, because if it was something I enjoyed, then I'd put it on this list. And sure enough, I enjoyed it. It's a little different than I was expecting. It's darker than I was expecting, and deals with teen angst and bullying and just delves into that more than I thought it would. So the movie's about these two high school best friends who basically are dealing with these bullies and just people at high school that treat them like absolute crap. And the main character is also dealing with loss of loved ones and dealing with not the greatest living situation. And then on top of all that, he discovers that there's a vampire living in this shed. And so once they realize there's this vampire in this shed, at first it's like, well, we should destroy it. But then one of the friends is like, ding, light bulb, maybe we could use it as a weapon.
Dude, don't you see what this means? We can use this. This is power.
What?
Nobody's ever gonna mess with us again.
Are you crazy?
Think about it.
And as you could guess from there, it doesn't go as planned. It becomes this gory mess. So it is a small indie movie, but in my opinion, a rather well done one. Really solid acting, directing, just in general, this movie looks great and has some really cool little special effect moments and makeup. I really enjoyed this movie, and I definitely think it's worth a watch.
There's nothing to be afraid of.
So The Invitation is probably my favorite movie on this list. I've heard about this movie, I've had it recommended for a very long time, and I just kept meaning to check it out, and for whatever reason, I never did. And then recently I moved to Shudder, and I was making this list, and I was like, you know what? I'm finally gonna check out this movie. And I'm so glad that I did, because it really is a solid, well-done movie. This is a psychological thriller type of movie that has a lot of dialogue, not a ton of action, but there was never a time that felt slow or boring at all, in my opinion. The entire movie, though, feels very awkward, very uncomfortable. This is one of, if not the most uncomfortable human interaction type of film I've ever seen. Just the whole entire movie, the characters just feel like they're really forcing interacting with each other. And it makes sense, because the story of this movie is this group of friends hasn't been around each other, hasn't been spending time with each other for quite a while. A couple years have gone by. And then one of them calls everybody together and is like, hey, let's get this little reunion going. Let's get everybody together. So the movie starts out with your main character and his new girlfriend driving to this ex's house, which is where all the friends are going to meet up. And right then and there, there's already this weird, strange uncomfortableness, because she's remarried and he's in this new relationship, but yet they still want to get together with all the friends. Seems like it's just going to be this awkward, weird gathering of friends. But then it takes a very dark turn and slowly turns into something totally different, a very creepy situation.
Bars on the windows and no
Security. Safer.
You've been acting so suspicious of our hospitality.
It's a movie that is absolutely so well done. I was captivated the entire time. I definitely think you should check this film out.
say the words.
Closer. It's all in your head. You have no idea what he's capable of.
So Son is a Shudder original movie that came out last year, starring Andi Matichak, who is mostly known for her role in the new Halloween series. And I have very much enjoyed her in the Halloween movies. But this movie's great because it really gives her a chance to shine. And for someone like myself who doesn't know much about her and hasn't seen her in anything else, I was so impressed with just how well she did in this movie, because the movie's focus is on her and her son, because she is raised in a cult. And from the beginning of the movie, she has this baby as she escapes this cult. And you're left not knowing what's up with the cult. You don't see any flashbacks. They don't really tell you much of anything other than that she left this cult. And now she's raising this little boy. Years have gone by. And some really uncomfortable, strange, creepy, demonic type of things start happening to her son.
I was dreaming.
What about?
I was drowning in a river of blood.
It also stars Emil Hirsch, who I absolutely loved in The Autopsy of Jane Doe. He's just a fantastic actor as well and does a really great job in this movie, playing this police officer who's trying to help her deal with these creepy things that keep happening to her and her son. But the real core of what this movie's about is about a mother and her son and what she's willing to do to protect her son, to take care of her son, because he is her whole world. She loves him so much. And I really love how it focuses on that and just really makes that the real story of this movie. In general, it's a very entertaining cult flick that I think is definitely worth checking out.
Cette nuit, tu me fous la paix.
The Advent Calendar is a 2021 French language Shudder original that I just checked out. So it came out a month ago for the holiday season, but I wasn't able to check it out until this past week. But it in no way feels like a holiday movie. There's very little holiday-wise whatsoever other than the fact that this is an Advent calendar. So I don't feel like it's a movie that needs to be watched during the holiday season. It's just a downright creepy, scary little movie that I was very pleasantly surprised with. But it's about this woman who's a paraplegic in a wheelchair, and as a gift for her birthday, a friend of hers gives her this really beautiful Advent calendar. And slowly she starts opening the doors on each date as the month of December goes by, as it gets closer and closer to Christmas. The thing is, she slowly starts to realize that each thing inside of each little door causes something to happen in the real world.
Tu devrais arrêter avec ce calendrier, ça va te rendre dingue. Tu prends bien tes médocs contre tes hallucinations, tout ça?
And slowly but surely, it gets more and more dark and creepy and disturbing. And one of the things that is so fascinating is not all the horrible things that happen necessarily are negative towards her. They actually cause some positive things to happen. It's a really interesting little movie that I think is definitely one to add to your list. So Brotherhood of the Wolf is an early 2000s film that I have heard about forever. I've seen part of it here and there, but just never got a chance to check it out. Finally, it has been recently added to Shudder, and I was like, all right, now's the time. And I loved this movie. It is so gorgeous. The cinematography, everything about it, the way it's shot, the acting, just the costume design. Man, this was a big production kind of film, and it's such a cool genre-bending film because it is just as much action as it is thriller, as it is romance, as it is horror. It's got all these things all smushed together to be this fantastic, just grand adventure kind of film. The only negative drawback of this movie whatsoever is the fact that it's an early 2000s movie, and so the CGI, they did try to go for it a little bit, and it definitely looks a little cheesy from time to time. Stars Mark Dacascos, who is this really awesome Native American character in this movie who somehow knows mixed martial arts, but that doesn't matter. It's about this small province of France where there starts to be these killings, these maulings by this big wolf, werewolf type of creature. And there's all this debate on if it's supernatural or if it's a real wolf or what it is. And the king hires these two guys to come in and find this wolf and kill it. I think it's a fantastic movie for anyone that enjoys fantasy, action, thriller, horror, romance type of things, all smushed into one. This real grand adventure, beautiful landscape kind of film. I think this is definitely one to check out. The Conspiracy is a movie that I've seen the image of this DVD for years and years, but I just never checked it out. I've always been curious about it, but for whatever reason, just never watched it until just this past week. It's a small, very dialogue-driven kind of movie. It's a thriller, mystery type of deal. It's about this older guy who has these huge conspiracy theories that sound absolutely bonkers at first. And slowly these two guys decide they want to make a documentary about this guy. And so they start interviewing him and start kind of going down the rabbit hole with this guy. And then some stuff starts to happen that makes them start to wonder and question if this guy's crazy, or if some of the stuff that he's saying could have some validity to it. Things slowly start to go down this crazy rabbit hole of the government and all these crazy conspiracies. The thing that I found very compelling about this movie is how many of these theories they have really line up with real theories, real conspiracy stuff that we see in the real world.
Terrence and guys like him, if they're wrong, then it's really crazy that they could be so delusional. If they're not.
So in some ways it makes you question, do we question our world enough as a whole, or are we too paranoid? But these two just follow this path into this creepy underground conspiracy cult type of world where stuff really starts to get dark and twisted. In general, this is a fun movie and I definitely enjoyed it. So Bloodthirsty is a very small movie that didn't blow my socks off by any means, but I was still very entertained by it. It looks great, solid acting. It's basically about this young girl who is this up and coming pop star musician of some sorts, right? And she's got to make a second album. And she's struggling with it. And then she meets this producer guy who's like, hey, come out to my beautiful big home and I'll help you write and create this next album. And so she does. And as she goes out there, things just start to get stranger and stranger. And she starts to question herself, question what she's seeing is reality, and questioning what this guy's motive is and what he's all about.
I suffer from hallucinations. I hallucinate that I'm turning into an animal.
So in no way is this a game changer, but if you're looking for something that's entertaining that you haven't seen, that has to do with creature feature, fun little elements, I think this is really entertaining and one to definitely check out.
We are being attacked. There's no rationalizing it. There is no saving us. So get used to it.
So Lucky is another Shudder original movie. It stars Brie Grant, who I've become a big fan of late. She just is so talented and beautiful. Just really, really enjoy her stuff that she's been doing. But she stars in this movie, and this is a movie that really flew below the radar of a lot of people's. And yet I saw some film critics and stuff putting this on their top 10 of 2021. And I almost did, because this movie is that entertaining. It's that good. It has a really deep, powerful message that it's putting there, like an analogy, but yet at the same time, it's a fun movie and a slasher sort of movie in a strange way. The basic premise of this movie is this woman wakes up in the middle of the night, her and her husband, to this intruder. This guy breaks into her home, tries to kill her, all this stuff goes down. The thing is, this keeps happening, and she asks her husband about it, and he's like, yeah, it's the man who shows up in the middle of the night. Like, no big deal. This happens every night. And she's just like, whoa, what? Like, game changer? Mind explosion? Psh.
Ted, I saw someone outside.
Honey, that's the man. He comes every night and tries to kill us.
And just little by little, every night, this guy keeps showing up. She starts killing this guy, and yet he keeps showing up every night. And slowly, she starts to kind of unravel this mystery and the reality that she's in. And it just really starts to have a much deeper, powerful meaning message to it. It's a movie that I think is very, very well done, very entertaining. I just can't recommend this movie higher. I definitely think you should check it out.
Lake Mungo.
Lake Mungo is a movie that came out a while back. It's a found footage Australian movie. And I've heard some people starting to talk about this, but it still flies way below the radar where it should. This is an absolutely chilling, disturbing, creepy movie, especially if you're a fan of found footage and you've never seen this. This is seriously one of the best found footage movies. It tells the story of this family whose daughter dies in the lake. And after the fact, they're dealing with the sadness and mourning and this tragedy, but yet it starts to become very creepy and there's not really sure if there's a haunting going on or what's going on.
I kept hearing noises in the hallway.
It hasn't reached me yet, but it's on its way. I feel like I can't do anything.
And then slowly things just start to happen, one after another, that get more and more disturbing. Just the way this movie looks and the way it's done, it feels like a real documentary done with found footage. It's an absolutely chilling movie. For anyone that enjoys ghost stories, this is definitely a must.
Yeah, this is bad.
And then Scare Package is the last movie on this list. And this is just a downright blast. This movie is like a horror comedy love letter to all horror fans out there. It deals with the tropes, it deals with all these different stories, and is done in an anthology setup, but it's just hilarious, well executed. It has cameos from all these different people in horror.
We're in a horror movie. Nobody? Horror movie.
I love it. It's an absolutely funny as hell movie, one that really is entertaining the entire time. And I definitely think if you've never seen it and you're into horror and you're looking for a good movie that'll make you laugh, then this is definitely one you should check out. All right, that's going to do it for me today. Please leave your comments down below. Let me know if you've seen any of these. Also, if you could do me a favor and hit that subscribe button and ding that little bell, because that is the best way to keep track of this channel. And when I post videos like this, and I post videos like this every single week, I also want to give a massive, huge, enormous thank you to my patrons, because you guys, your support seriously means so much to me. And if you would like to find out more about becoming a patron, the link is down in the description. And like always, thank you so much for watching. Please crush that like button. And remember, guys, horror can be fun. I will see you guys next time.